Hi there, everyone. It's Kim, and I want to welcome you if you're first time to my channel and ask you to leave a comment, ask a question, do anything. Just let me know you're there. I'd be happy to answer anything you want to pose to me. Today, I want to do a little bit different type of video. Today, I want to delve into the New York trade planning session that I do live with members 3 days a week and go through what the setups were this morning and actually how they played out and what would have happened if you had taken all of them, some of them, none of them. All right, so we're going to walk through all 10 pairs that we go through. So situate yourself, get a cup of cold water or a cup of coffee or something warm to drink if you're not in one of the parts of the world that's burning up right now, and sit back and let's go through trades together. Hi there, everyone. We're looking at the euro dollar. We're going to go ahead and go through just like I did the planning session this morning and talk about the trade opportunities that set up in the planning session. And also I'm going to include a couple that actually triggered right after the planning session. So let's start with the euro dollar. This one was a break, an RBO to the downside. And this one happened 30 minutes into the New York Open. If you caught this, this was worth 21 pips. And if we measure down from the breaking line all the way down here, let me get that on again, down to here, you can see it's about 21 pips. So this was in a range in the planning session. It broke out 30 minutes after the planning session ended and dropped 21 pips. So there was a possibility of 21 pips there. Let's go ahead and talk about the EJ. So during the planning session, this was the entry. This was the yellow line I drew during the planning session. And this trade was a long, and you were looking for, if you weren't in it, you were looking for the pullback, which it happened during the planning session. It also happened here. So there's two candles. And this trade moved up about 32 pips minus the spread. So this was a 32 pip trade set up right during the planning session. Traders had an opportunity to get into. The Australian dollar, also right here, another yellow line trade that set up during the planning session. It moved against traders for a little bit, about 6 pips, and then fell. It was a short, and it dropped about 31 pips, so minus the spread. It was about a 30 pip value in that trade if you took it in the planning session. AJ. Now, there was no trade during the planning session. This one was in a range, and price action broke out. This was on the, let's get this read here. This was also 30 minutes into the New York Open, 1 hour after the planning session. There was a break right here, and it closed back in the range for a -5. So a very small loss. Dollar yen. Here was the setup in the planning session. Again, right off this yellow line, this pullback into this long, this trade was worth about 50 pips if you took it. Dollar CAD. So dollar CAD actually broke during our planning session to the downside. It was a range break to the downside, and it sucked back and closed back in the range for a small loss of about 2 pips. The CAD yen was a trade setup that, guess what? The market just ran away, never pulled back. If you were in this like I was, I got 38 pips off this, you would have had to take it right here on this yellow line about a half hour before the planning session began. But we're not going to count it since there was no pullback for traders in the planning session to get into. New Zealand. This was in a clear directional move short. If you took this yellow line, it set up during the planning session. This was worth about 26 pips on this trade. Dollar Swiss. Dollar Swiss was in a range during the planning session, but did not break out. It broke out also at the 7 a.m. hour Pacific, 30 minutes into the New York Open, just like we saw on the euro breaking out and AJ. So this one, though, if you had taken it, it moved up about 14 pips. Pound dollar. This one actually set up in the planning session, and this is what it looked like. Off this yellow line, big drop, 50 pips, 52 pips. All right, so let's go ahead and go back and summarize the trades that actually kicked off during the planning session and what their potential was if you had taken any of them or one of them or all of them. And then also what kicked off after the planning session and the outcomes of those. So let's go to another screen and let's talk about it. All right, so let's go ahead and do a quick summary of what we just went over on the charts and look at the opportunities that were there and summarize all of them. So during the trade planning session, if you had attended today, these were the opportunities. You could have gotten the EJ for 32 pips off the yellow line. You could have gotten the Australian dollar for 30, the dollar yen for 50. The CAD would have been a failed RBO and lost 2 pips. The CAD yen never gave an entry to people in the planning session because it was a runaway trade. The New Zealand gave traders 26 pips if they took the entry, and the pound dollar gave them 52 pips for a total of 188 pips. Now, what happened after the planning session? Within that first half hour, we saw the euro break out for 21 pips. We saw the dollar Swiss break out for 14 pips. And we also saw the Australian yen fail for a -5. So if you take the total of 188 plus 30, that's a possibility of 218 pips. Now, I know not everyone is going to get all of these trades. I didn't. I didn't take the euro. I didn't take the Swiss. I did take this one, AJ, a failed trade. I did take the pound and jumped out of it. I also took the AU and never got back in on a re-entry from an earlier loss. So it depends. If you just showed up for the planning session, this was the possibility. And this was what manifested after the planning session was over. All right, so we look at 10 pairs, and this is 10 pairs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. These were the opportunities. And I hope you see the value in this and showing up for the trade planning sessions. They're really important to set you off on the right foot and get you focused on the upcoming New York session. Thanks for listening. And again, if you're not a subscriber, please hit the subscribe button below and leave a comment. Thank you.